Hi guys, welcome to Movie Reviews with Fee, and today we're going to be reviewing Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. Now, Possum Trot is a very small town in East Texas, and there, Donna and Reverend Martin pastored a small 100-member church, Bennett Chapel Missionary Baptist Church, in the piney woods of East Texas. So the crux of the story, Donna and they're a small town, but they're tightly knit, and you see this loving, blossoming relationship between um, Donna, her 17 siblings, her mother, her husband, and all the church members. And Donna's mother passes, and it absolutely guts her. She takes a trip back to the shack where she and her 17 siblings were raised, and she's like crying her eyes out to God just on the ground. And she's like, God, take me, or let me know what my mission is in life, because she feels like she can't go on. Well, while she's, just having this cry session, she hears these children running in the field. So she walks over to them and she just sees these kids playing, and it's impressed upon her heart by the Holy Spirit that her mission in life was to love children who didn't have that loving relationship of a mother with their mother that she had with hers. And so that gives her a new found direction in life, and a different, it just infuses her with hope and direction, and a cause, like a calling. So she goes and she tells her husband, what she feels like the Lord is telling her, and he's like, "Yeah, I ain't heard that. So we ain't got no adopt the kids money, so we gotta take care of these two kids. We got money." So Donna, she starts, going to the adoption classes and meeting with this social worker, and I don't remember the social worker's name. Let's call her Jane. And Jane, she works tirelessly, but this local foster care system is overwhelmed with kids who nobody wants, or they keep returning them. And every time you do that, that further traumatizes children. So eventually Reverend Martin comes around, and he's like, "Okay, I feel the tugging of my heart by the Holy Spirit to adopt children." So they bring in two little kids. And, the kids, they're siblings. And Donna tries to give the little boy a bath. He hears the water running. He starts, screaming and flailing. So the husband comes in and he calms him down. And she's like, "I didn't do anything. I just turned the water on." So later on, you see when she takes his shirt off, he has like burn marks on him. So the assumption is he was maybe put in hot water as a punishment. But pretty much he looked like he's maybe 4 or 5. The little baby had been tortured. And so this further drives their passion for protecting unwanted and, unprotected foster children. So they go back to Jane and they're like, "Look, we want the kids that nobody else wants." And Jane's like, "Look, I know you're all feel good church people, but this is the real deal, Holyfield. These kids have trauma, they have psychiatric issues from all of the horrible things they've been through, just unmentionable things that a child, like an adult, shouldn't have to go through, let alone a child." But they are like, "No, this is what God is telling us to do," which, as a Christian, when God tells you to do something, it doesn't mean it's going to be an easy journey. And I was reading an article, an interview of Donna and Reverend Martin, and they said that when they were creating the story with the producers, they're like, "We don't want this to be a Cinderella tale because it was challenging." And that's what I saw in the movie. So they place this girl Terry with them. And Terry is someone who had been returned multiple times to the foster care system. She had horrific sexual abuse. Her mom was an addict, and so the men would come in and, abuse her. So she had this coping mechanism of pretending to be a cat. Like she would meow and crawl around and all those kind of things. So there's this scene where everybody's eating and she's like meow 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 meow, and so uh, to deal with it, Reverend Martin, he's like, honey, where are those chicken livers? She's like in the refrigerator. So he goes and gets a bowl of chicken livers and he puts it outside and he tells her, he's like, here, this is what cats eat, so go on outside. So she goes outside and she's like meow meow, and so everybody's eating and they're finished with dinner, and so she scratches on the window and she's like, I don't want to be a cat anymore, I want to be a girl. And so he smiles because he feels like he's won that war. But Terry has a lot of things going on, and there are some tumultuous clashes that occur between, like there's jealousy that Terry has with their daughter. I think the daughter's named LaDonna, and they get into a fight, and so there's this clash, and the daughter's like, well, why are you taking in these kids? You have kids of your own. And not just that, the other parishioners, the 22 families decide to adopt the kids. They join in on the mission. So 77 kids in total are adopted or taken in because they're foster care children. So I don't know what the legalities of it, because I believe the state was still paying some type of stipend, but it wasn't enough. So there's this scene where Reverend Martin goes to this big, huge, mega church. And this pastor, you can hear on the announcements that they're going to Jamaica and they're doing all these things. And he's like, I hate to ask, but, like Donna's sister who's taking in kids, they are, because it's more people in the house, it breaks her sewer system, or what do you call that when you don't? So, in the country, they have those sewer systems, sub tanks or something like that. And it's like $800, which in the 80s, that's like $1 million. So the guy's like, it's not in the budget. So you get this really intense scene where he's basically like, God calls us not to go to Jamaica, but to take care of the orphans and the fatherless and the widows. And, the guy doesn't really back down, but he writes him a personal check. He's like, this is for me and my wife. This is all I can do. It's not in the church budget, which is so damning to the church, because what are you doing if you're not servicing the least of these? That's what Jesus literally says in his message, that if you don't serve, he'll tell you he didn't know you because you didn't serve the least of these. Meaning the homeless, the people, the ne'er-do-wells, the drug addicts, the people who can't make you look good, who can't afford to go to Jamaica, it's pretty awesome what they did, and then the years it took for them to get this story made. It's definitely a good watch, and coming from my background, I was raised Church of God in Christ, and my church, my childhood church, was a storefront in Chicago. We lived on the second floor and the church was on the first floor. So some of the music, the setup, people dancing and falling out in the spirit, people praying over you, with all their might, all of that is how I grew up. So to see this story of people, and we didn't adopt kids, but my mom took care of people. There was no one who was hungry who came to my mom and she didn't feed. So my heartstrings were tugged by this story, and I cried my eyes out. My eyes were so puffy when I left. So it is a touching film. And I did like at the end, they showed all of the kids and where they are now and what they're doing with themselves, and how just caring and putting in the effort really changed the trajectory of lives for these children. So yeah, it's a feel good movie. I definitely need to see something happy. I mean, it's kind of happy, but it like I said, it's not a Cinderella story. So there are some very hard um, things to watch, but I definitely believe it's worth the watch. So if you've seen it and you have any comments, drop them in the comments. Thanks, guys.